Hello, Mgtows. Hello. Hello, man. Let me fix this. I'm trying to start. I have a slow start today. So we'll just wait a second and let me get up to a reasonable speed here this morning. It's still early. It's noon. I'm up before the crack of noon this morning. Hello, Father. No, I got my coffee and I thought I had the argument. We see the argument around here. The God life coaches, and there's a difference between the coach Eli's and the God life coaches. The God life coaches take the premise of God, and no matter how that comes, it could be one of hundreds of different gods, but they're all just an argument of name because it's probably all the same God. They're just arguing. The humans are just arguing about its name. so, that comes from a book I once read about all gods. If Father No probably read it too. It's all gods. All gods are the same. That was actually a Catholic priest that wrote that too, which is interesting because he's kind of going against his faith when he wrote that. But the question here, P2Q logic, we're going to use P2Q logic today, and we're going to ask some questions. And I'm going to make this interactive because I don't have time in my life to spend 20 years like General Lee did trying to figure out whether there's a God or not. And while we're at this, we'll do something real. Orange Partisan requested last night. We did I have to do it this way. I have to do it the opposite way because it comes off the opposite way in the film. Go your own way, man. Go your own way. All your sins are forgiven. All that junk from the past that we did when we were young, that's all forgiven. Now you're a Mgtow now. And that's the way I like to think God is. He just forgives you for all that junk in the past. And he goes, hey, you're a Mgtow now, bitch. And I go, yeah, I am. And he goes, you're my buddy. And I go, yeah, you're my buddy too. But that doesn't seem be the way the God life coaches do it, or the life coaches from the Christian God life coaches. They call preachers. And the statement, I worked out a little statement thing. So we're gonna walk down the statement line. The statement line from the P2Q question for the statement line is there a question of God? And what they always say is God is watching and he'll be angry if you do something. That's P to Q. God is watching and he'll be angry if you do something. The P2Q will prove or disprove this. And we went over Watson's cards. We went over what we have to do to prove something. And we'll go through those. And it can't be confirmation bias. You can't have confirmation. There's a lot of confirmation bias in the God question. That's what it has to be, something negation that either proves it or disproves it. Like with the cards, it's an even number card was blue, and then if an odd number card came up, it would be a different color, and that would prove that the statement about the even number cards are true. You have to see the negation of something, and that's in life. You have to see something negated to see that the other statement is true. So the question of God is a P2Q question, and it's something, but the interesting part is there's two questions in here. God is watching is the first question, and that's probably the most interesting question. How do you know when something is watching you? Now, I read a little bit about this morning, and I know a little bit about this. I know a little bit about eyesight. I did I did a class on eyesight, birds' eyesights and everything. We know how eyesight works. But that doesn't really answer the question. There's the question of the gaze. Can you feel? Some people over the years have suggested that the gaze, you can feel that your hair stands up. You feel something is watching you, no matter what that something is. And that something can be the God. If it's watching you, you can feel it. So they did test on this. And I think it was, Tolan that did the test on it. And it came out to be confirmation bias because your brain does something and it just feels like you're being watched. Like if you're at a train, this is what girls in confirmation bias does. The male gaze, they feel someone's watching them. They get a creepy feeling inside their head. And then they look around and someone may be staring in their direction at a TV in back of them. That's why I always give, there's things in back of you, things in front of you. The girl's like, oh, that creepy guy's, I can feel it. But that's confirmation bias. So we know that we can't measure it by how we feel about something watching us. One of the analogies I had to come up in life, when is God watching me? And I had to test that. We test these things in logic. And one of the things that I'm going to test is I have to come up with a P to Q argument to this that generally matches the P to Q statement that God is watching me and he's going to be angry. So I look at my childhood. I look at being coached on a football team. The coach is watching me. How do I know the coach is watching me? And how do I know that there's going to be this action? There has to be an action for this to prove itself. That was Doppler, not Doppler. I can't remember what his name is. If somebody knows, there has to be an action and there has to be to the test, and you have to take action. You have to take action for the test to happen. So in other words, if I want to know if the coach is watching me, then I have to do something wrong, or the coach has to display that he's watching me. The coach always watches me. This is the God situation. But in this case, coaching is a subjective. There's two ways to coach. And I was asking, if I do something wrong, if I take a wrong angle, the coach yells at me, I know the coach is watching. That definitely tells me that the coach was. But does it test that the coach is always watching? No, it really doesn't test. And there's other biases that come into this thing, which is sometimes coaches will just let the kids play and they'll learn while they're playing. And I like to think that's like life. We're all out here playing, we're learning. Things will correct themselves if consequences occur. Like the kids are out playing and they start losing the game. The kids all look to each other and go, hey, we're losing here. And the coach isn't telling us what to do. Coach is God in this situation. The coach isn't telling us what to do. And we have to start winning. So we have to correct some things. John, did you do that? Bill, did you? And people do a self-analysis of their self. In other words, we do what Mgtows do. We do a self-evaluation of ourselves to see where we're doing things wrong so we can be better teammates and start winning the game. So that's another way for a coach to let us know. So the P to Q logic works out a little bit, but how do we test whether this thing is going to happen? Watson's cards say there has to be an observational contrary or a visible indicator to the thing. Like in the negation would be the test of whether God was watching us. Right so far, I get stuck right at a few things. How can I further test the subject that God is watching me? I do the analogy of the coach, and I knew that there's sometimes we just let the things play out, and we will self-regulate ourselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean that God is a coach. So in that statement, I hear the statement a lot with these coach gods that God is behind a veil, and there's this imaginary veil, and that he's going to punish us later, or he's going to rebuke us later. And that sounds more like the God we're talking about, right? The God from the God coaches God. They're going to coach you. They're going to say, what if I do something wrong? And they'll go, well, you'll be punished later. And what is later? Later is later the afterlife, or is later tomorrow? That was always my question. Is later the after? Because sometimes it would seem in life that if you do something wrong, and we have to, the human bias on this thing too, we have to take out of it. If I go rob a store and I get caught by the police, that's a human thing. It doesn't tell me that God is going to punish me, because humans are going to interact. They're going to intersect in that. There's going to be an executive command in there where humans will punish me. So that's not a great thing. So I have to think about this thing, and I have to go over in my mind, what kind of punishment can I invoke? Or what kind of contrary can I evoke to Mgtow's all do this. When we work this out in our mind, we'll know I did the introspection on myself. I corrected my action. What kind of thing can I invoke to see if God is watching me? Well, I have to do something contrary to bad, don't I? I have to do something good. And we all do these things. We all do these things in Mgtow. We say, if you're bored, go out and help some people. I do something good. Will I have a positive result? Mentally, I may have a positive result. And that goes back to the visual biases of the male gaze. The female does the observation that she's being gazed at, and she may make an action. The gazing will stop. She'll feel better. That's I'm going to go out. I'm going to do something good. And then I'll get some kind of confirmation bias back that if I do something bad is the opposite. It's the opposite. It's the negation of it. I can measure these things. So I go out and I do something good. And then I got to thinking about Dougie. the good things I do for Dougie. Dougie's blind. He's sick. He doesn't move a lot anymore. I have to carry him out. Pretty soon we're going to get to this point where I have to feed him. Now, I went through this with human beings too. I've taken care of human beings in my life that couldn't feed themselves, that couldn't take care of their bodily functions. I had to clean up. I had to do these things for another human being for many, 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 many years. I had to change diapers. I had to do all those things. Now, in that, it would seem that would be a test. If God was watching me and I was going to be punished for something bad, God would be watching me and I would be rewarded for something good. In that sense, have I been rewarded for something good? I don't know. I felt often neglected, and I felt very damaged by society after that. Once you take care of somebody in that kind of capacity, and Steve Hoka will tell you, it's a very personal, intimate thing that damages your psyche for a long amount of time. So if damaging my psyche for a long amount of time was confirmation to God is watching me and I will be punished, no, that would be an end-to-end statement. That would be a negative to the negative. That would be God is watching you and he's just going to fucking punish you. And that's what it seems like sometimes in life. God is watching you, the end-to-end statement. God is watching you and you're just going to get freaking punished no matter what you do. And the road to the road to hell is paved with good intention. And that's another end-to-end statement. Which we get a lot. Let me go back to and say hello to everybody. So we have the life, but what this is about is my answer. How do I answer the God life coaches that God is going to sometime punish me for something I've done that's bad? How do I answer that question? And I'm pretty much at this point in my life. I don't know what I am. General Lee. I think I'm just like General Lee. General Lee was asking that question after the wars and after he did a whole thing of is there God? He wrote a book, Is There God? And he was like very, very analytical about it. Can you imagine General Lee writing a book about this subject? That's why I was fascinated with it back in the day. I don't think I can remember what it was about or anything, but have I proven without a doubt, within human thing. One of the questions which I have is, we got two different things on the field too. We have this metaphysical thing that you're talking about, that there's some God that I can't see. He lives behind a veil, like this window here. You guys know there's a window right there because the light is here. I know there's a, now this is one of the visual biases you can use here. You can't see that there's a window over here, but what can you see? Well, look on your screen. There's a light. So you can imagine there's a light source coming from that, which would be a visible, a variable of there's a window over here, but there's a screen there. Now the veil of God behind the screen is what a lot of preachers tell me, and that's what they told me in the seminary, and that's what they told me. That there's a veil of God. You can't see him, but he's somehow behind that thing, and he knows what you're doing. He's behind this veil, and there's no way to visually interact with him. So, but that doesn't do it, because that seems to be another one of those statements that I can test that in life. I can test with sunlight, but I can't really put a God behind there. I could test this theory right here that there's something behind the veil, and I know it. You can know it, not know it, because you're looking at it from the screen, that there's a slight, right about, where is it at? Right about there. There's a slight lightness in the screen. So you got to know that there's something over there. Either there's a lighting source, or there's like a window, or there's God, which is the three things that are most likely. There's either a lighting source or a window, and God is behind it. Now that didn't seem to do it for me, because the PQ statement was kind of rough on that. LSD is a cult. LSD was a cult that brought a lot of bad things to life. When you think about the guy who just died, Charles Manson, and they had a cult of LSD. But yeah, there's a cult thing that works into the God is dead question. So what we're trying to answer here today, whether that we have the God life coaches that are coming to Mgtow, and the question, which is, if you guys don't get in line and you don't take up with the girls and you don't do what we say, I find it funny that God always agrees with them. I don't know what it is. God always agrees with you guys. And is God agreeing with you, or are you agreeing with God? And I can't tell anymore, because he always agrees with you. So if we don't do what they say we're going to do, or if we do what they say to us to do, we go get married, we go get a girl, we take care of her for the rest of her life, and she's going to reward us, because at that point, and I heard this stupid line, that at that point the divorce rate drops to under 0.2% magically. Mormons. Now, Mormons were, I did the research, and you probably heard my video. The Mormons were right. The Mormons were right about polygamy, because of what my wife said to me. That was the original statement about, it's none of my business what anybody does. The Mormons were right about a lot of things. And I keep that in mind now, that the Mormons are righter than the Christians about sexual things of sexual nature and everything. And it's none of nobody's business what I do. That's my monkness. If someone was going to ask me what I'm doing with that down there, I don't tell them anything. I say, don't ask me about that. That's none of your business. That's what we talked about that yesterday with the state senator, or the state congressman that got attacked by the woman. She was essentially asking him what he was doing with that, she was sexually harassing him. So my thing is with the Mormons is, you don't ask me, I don't ask, you don't tell. And it doesn't matter how many wives I have, because it's none of your business. Well, how many wives I have, how many children I have, but the Christians seem to think it's their business. The Christians seem to think it's a lot of their business to monitor and that's a good point, and it's probably a good point. The Christians seem to think it's their business to monitor the Mormons, it's their business to monitor the Mgtows, it's their business to monitor in this form of God which we talked about earlier, was confirmation bias. Uh, if the police if the police arrest me for something and I do something, so my question about this whole thing is, what can I do? What action can I do to wait for a result to see if they're right? And that's what I'm at. Are they right, or am I stuck in metaphysical world that always comes back to some form of confirmation bias? And I have to test this thing as a scientific philosopher. I have to get empirical knowledge that the only way I can test to see if something is good, or to see if something I'm going to be punished for something bad, is to either to do the opposite of that, present it with the negation and do something good and see if I'm rewarded. But then I was asking a question about what was later. Was later in the afterlife, because that's just more confirmation bias. You're going to be rewarded in the afterlife. That we get that all of our life. When you're a child, they're going to tell you graduate from kindergarten, you get to go to the first grade, and it's going to be better. And you graduate from the second grade, and you get to go to middle school, and it's going to be better. And it really wasn't. You graduate from middle school and it's going to be better. You get to go to high school, and that sucked. And it was like a downward grade after middle school. From high school, you graduate from high school, you get to go to college, and it's going to be better. You graduate from college, you get to go to work, and it's going to be better. And that sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks. And life is a big fucking row of suck. It just sucks you. It just sucks whatever life you have out of you. And there's always that lie. You get married and it's going to be better. And it really wasn't. You go do this and it's going to be better afterward. That's a bias. You're confirming it by the grass is greener on the other side. Wookiee Lives Matter says John Smith wrote a book of Mormon in college. He even said it was bullshit. He made it up. Mormons are not Christians, right? Yeah, that's what I find about the Mormons. The Mormons say that we know that this is bullshit, but it makes our community happy. That's what I think Trey and what's his name from South Park answered this question at the end. At the end of the thing with the Mormons, the little kid said, "Damn it." He said, "Damn it, Kyle." Says, "We know that this is bullshit, but it enables us to live a better life." And that's what I say about Christianity. If that enables you to live a better life, believing in God, and sometimes this thing is true with veterans. You're coming back from a war. You've did some pretty awful things. You've seen some pretty awful things, and you have to get forgiveness. You come back to this place here, you're not giving for you. Usually you get spit on. They call you a baby killer. They're going to call you names. They're going to say you're a fucking animal. That's what my wife told me after when I decided one day to share with her about what I do as a soldier. When I worked for the contractor, when I was a contractor for that, what I do, she called me a fucking animal, and that I was not worthy of her love anymore because I was a fucking killing machine animal. I was less than human. So we know we're not going to get rewarded with that. So there's this God up there that is going to reward you. And I went through this whole thing in my life. There was some God up there where I can get some forgiveness for my sins and be able to live on this world amongst the other humans without having to kill them too. So humans are very, humans go both ways. Humans, the people that you think that love you just really fucking hate you. And all they want us to do is they want you to see you to be what they want you to be for the longest period of time where they want you to be. That for them. And that's very selfish. That's why the Mormons are right. They say it's none of your fucking business what I do. But we still haven't answered the question for the God life coaches in here. I'll call them God life coaches because we got life coaches. We got the Coach Eli life coach. He's going to coach you how to he's going to tell you how to absolutely screw things up in your life. And that's what Coach Eli does. I would suggest if you're watching Coach Eli, whatever Coach Eli does, you do the exact opposite, and that's guaranteed to be a success. Now, there's people in this world that I measure what they're doing. And if they're doing something, I do the opposite of that. Like I had this guy, he was a schleprock, man. Everything he did was wrong. Any decision he made was wrong. And I knew that. And so we were doing our 401s. We're filling out our 401ks and I couldn't figure out who to there was two groups I wanted to invest in at that time. And I couldn't figure out who to invest in at that time. So I looked over and I thought, well, I'll just see what he's investing in, and I'll just do the opposite. And it was offshore investments in U.S. real estate, which a company that had all these holdings and everything. And at that time, it was still the 1980s. So that was a pretty good investment. And I found out that was I just asked him and I said, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm going to invest in this slow earning thing, like they say, and make it. And I thought, well, if he's doing that, then I'll do what I'm doing, because that's the negation, because he's a schleprock. So I was testing things, and I know that 99% of the time, this guy was going to be wrong about everything. He was really stupid. He had an IQ of maybe 80, and it seemed like he had that thing in life where you can just, if you go out with him, something bad was going to happen. If he touched something bad was going to happen. It was always, and people knew this about the cat. So I do believe Coach Eli is like that. Whatever Coach Eli does, or whatever Coach Eli says for you to do, you do the exact opposite of what he says, and then you'll be better off. Whatever that margin of error that he has, you will get on the other side. Now, that's a very good analogy for margins of error. Whatever margin of error, you don't know what that margin of error is. You'll get the opposite. You'll get the negation of that, and then you'll be fulfilled in the negation of that. But you can't tell which margin of error that is going to present itself. It could be a large margin, or it could be a small one. Whatever it is, it's a win-win situation. So, but that doesn't help me with my question about the God coaches in Mgtow, whether their statement. I think we've ran through this statement, and we find that that I can't see when something's looking at me. I don't know when something's watching me. So the idea that God is watching me is non-testable. I know when a coach is watching me, a human coach, and that would be, he watches me. I make a mistake. He rebukes me at that moment. This is or maybe later. Later is a few moments later when I run to the sidewalk and he says, Joe, you got to take a better angle at that guy coming through the line. You're a linebacker. You want to flow into it, and he'll show me a few moves or a few techniques. And he's gonna and I was a linebacker, so I know. And I'm like, great, coach, I'm going to do a better job next time. And that's the way I like to think about God. Is I'll be like, he just comes and he explains what angle I'm taking wrong. And then I go, great, coach, I'm in the game for you, man. We're gonna win, because there is a payoff at the end, and the payoff at the end of this thing would be winning the game. And things are gonna what is Mgtow thread? That's one analogy that I can measure in life. There's a lot of measurements of life, of what's watching you. Your boss is watching you too. He's a little more not aesthetic. He's a little more astringent about what he's watching. He doesn't want you to make a mistake, because mistakes in industrial situations cost lots of money. Don't make scrap. That's what, we used to use that at a place, and I know a lot of guys, you're familiar. We don't make scrap. If that scrap goes to scrap, and it costs thousands of dollars if you make a run on whatever product you're making. God watches everybody on the toilet. Yeah, now that was the thing that I was saying, pretentious hermit. Like the Christians, now we're going to go down that way. We're going to do that eventually sometime today. You know that. Like I would say that what they're saying is there's other links to this. God is watching you, Mgtow. So you have to get a girl. So what I found in life is that's what I did. I went and got a girl, and we're going to mate, and mating is sex. We're going to have children. And so God was watching me while I was in bed with my wife. And he was cheering me on because I'm pretty good at that. So God was at the end of my bed going, woo, Joe, hit that hard. Get deep into there. Joe, get deep. Go deep, Joe. That's what their perception of God is. The Christian perception of God is God's at the end of my bed. And a lot of times in the early West and the Mormons and that's their perception too. Now, I'd argue that if God was watching me and I didn't do a good job, would I be punished for not doing a good job while I was either on the toilet or or in the bed? And in the bed was the example that I use, because I want to think that there's this life coach in the sky that's cheering me on when I was vigorous and when I was young and healthy, and I was vigorously engaged in that act with the V, that he was cheering me on. Now, I've never heard him cheer me on. This was in my mind thing. In my mind, I was like, man, I'm doing it for God. And I think there was a little confirmation bias in there too, because I was just getting something from it. There was no visual. I never really looked up, and there was some visual, some visual God in a cheerleading outfit, which would make him kind of like a little bit funny. But God is funny in those ways. Maybe he likes to wear cheerleading outfits. Maybe he doesn't like to wear cheerleading outfits. I don't know, because I've never seen them. So he was cheering on all the Christians, and he goes around like Santa Claus from house to house. And ooh, Trippy, come back. There we go. He goes around from house to house every night like Santa Claus, and he cheers all the Christians on. He cheers all the Mormons on. Go deep, Joe. Go deep. That's what he wants me to go get the ball, and the ball is the kid. I don't know. I don't know what the analogy plays out, but Damascus sword. Damascus sword's an interesting question, potentially, about the sword tied to the string, which if God wants me dead, he'll cut the string and then I'll be dead. That's putting yourself at risk to reward of, you sleep under the sword. But in that situation, God is still the life coach. And the life coaches are telling me if I do something wrong and I don't do what they're saying, I'm going to be punished. So I know in some of these situations, in real life situations, when I test these things, like if I take a bad angle on the running back, the punishment will be that he's going to get by me and that's later. Later is immediately in that situation. Later on that game, we may lose, which would be another punishment. Later on that month, we may not make the playoffs. So that might be another punishment. We have to consider all these punishments in what the form of later comes to us in. Later in this lifetime, as far as I can figure out, is within the confines of the lifetime. So God is going to punish me, and it's going to be later. If I have to test that by doing something good, which I do every day. I take care of Dougie, and that's where my Dougie question comes in right now. And I've taken care of sick people. I've taken care of a lot of people in life. I've punished my body a whole lot. So in that, there will be some kind of reward. If God is going to punish me because if I do something good, there should be some kind of reward involved. That is because reward would be the negation to punishment. And as I found that there was really no reward. I got bad knees. I got bad feet. The reward for work was that I get bad knees and bad feet, and they don't have to pay for that in the end. We had this argument the other day about the proletariat, and me and a friend about he's an immediate observationist that you got paid at the time, Joe. That was reward. No, pay for the time was pay for the work, not the pain that I was going to have to endure later. What was my reward for the pain that's why we have I was arguing about Noe and Noe in Ohio that stole the coins from Workman's Comp. And And I said, no, he stole the coins from Workman Com. Now I didn't get rewarded for some of the things because I was denied Workman's Com, a 25% disability at the time for a knee problem or a rotator cuff problem or my eyesight when I got electrocuted. There was no reward after that. So that was the reward to be in the work. Later, you would be taken care of because your body. Now we see this example in the Egyptian pyramid, the Moses thing, when they're pulling the big stone across and the guy gets so old, he falls down. And the guy goes, well, just run him over with the stone and grind him into the ground, and that will be his reward for getting old. We don't do that anymore because that's the slavery method. We do at some point there is a reward for your body breaking down, and that will have to be. So we know in life that in a lot of those situations you're not going to get rewarded as in fairness. The fairness reward for your body breaking. You've got bad knees. Well, you get a disability, and that comes from the Workman's Com rather than the Social Security, because Workman's Com should pay that. Now, that was an answer to a question I asked. What portion of Social Security is being paid by Workman's Com? And we were discussing the theory of what we pay for in life and what we pay into and everything. And the Workman's Comp system doesn't think they have to pay for any portion of that Social Security, and the coins in Ohio disappeared, and that was Bob Ney, and then there was Noe. I can't remember. I think his name was Bob Noe too, and they stole all the coins. Some of the coins disappeared, or reappeared just last year, and which we have to go back now, and how many people was turned down because of a shortage of money. You have to go back and say, hey, we found the coins. The gold is now worth $2,500, and the coins are worth much more because the coins were an investment and in age with the coins. I think there was an age investment. These coins were some rare coin, and so there was the age or whatever, the coin is now worth twice as much, and they found a coin, but they're not going to go back for the people that paid for the coins. And there was some interesting conversation going on about that, whether they need to go back and take a look at the people that were denied for Workman's Comp, because those are the people that eventually paid for it. There's two ways of paying for this. You paid for it with your body, or you paid for it as an employer. You got to go, okay, now, yeah, we got to go back, but they won't because they're greedy, and the answer never gets answered. But in that, we still have the statement of God, is some guy gonna punish me for being a Mgtow, and if I don't get with this thing, the God coaches are saying. Now, I think we disproved that in this thing, that there was it has to be in real time. There has to be some real-time punishment for me to scientifically believe it. It's like the game coach. So that punishment would have to be in real time. Now, I'm still searching for the question of what small action can I do, like Watson's cards, to see if the negation comes out in a positive action or a negative action. What small positive action can I do immediately right now to test whether I'm going to be punished or rewarded for whatever I do? And now I started thinking about the Dougie thing, and this is where you guys can help me out. I mean, really, I'm kind of stuck here on that question. Can I put this test, this scientific notion, into existence by doing a small test here? Should I scream out to the God and call him a name? Well, that's what I do. In my test is I made myself God. God didn't show up, so I made myself God. Will I be punished? Have I been being punished since I made myself God? And I can't really say there's the same amount of human. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and I can't really say that the later has come and I'm going to be punished for making myself God. And really, I'm just filling his seat because he hasn't shown up. Now that's what Camus would say. Dude, I'm just filling the seat until the son of a bitch shows up, and then we'll have a discussion about why he was late. I mean, that's quite within my good thinking. If I had an employee that showed up late, or the boss showed up late, and all the employees, we'd be like, hey boss, you're the boss, show up fucking on time, really, ass. We rebuke each other for things like that. So basically, I'm filling that chair right now, and doing the job of God. You can read about this in the book of Sisyphus. Camus wrote the book on Sisyphus, and then he wrote The Rebel, and this was about God. It was about God. Nietzsche wrote about God too, and he wrote about God, and Thus Spoke Zarathustra was all about God not showing up. So the Christians are still telling us at this time, this late date, and in Mgtow, we've been around since 2000, so we've been around almost 19 years now. 2004, I would say 2002 was pretty interesting when we were having these discussions. 2002, 2004, when we started picking up, and you could see our growth, and then 2008 was a real growth period too, and then 2012 was a real growth period. 2004, 2000, every 4 years. Wow. So 2018 was a growth period. No, I don't recognize 2018 as another growth period, but 2019, we'll see in a few years. I don't know if that was a pattern or not. We're going to be punished for something. There's been a long time since we started doing this thing, Mgtow, and I don't see it really coming around. And we've been always getting this from the Christians. But my thought with the Christians, they're just doing traditional queuing. They're just doing a traditional queuing process, because traditional is on originality. That's what I say. They're synonymous. The words are synonymous. Look it up. I mean, if you don't believe me, anytime you're being traditional, you're being unoriginal. You're just doing a queuing process where they're moving along into this queuing process that they're telling us has worked. But I have tested that queuing process. Because I was born a Catholic. I was born a Christian, and it didn't work. She said that at the end that her body was her business, and I agreed with her. And she said I could do anything I want with that. And I said, well, we got this Christian problem here. And she said, fuck that. And she goes, fuck that. I lied to you. And I said, oh, you lied to me. You got me good. That was good. You lied to me about that. And I thought, well, that's great, because I can do what I want to do now. And that's just whatever the fuck I want to do. And nobody can hold me to that, because there's all these little lies in there. I thought, great, man. I'm cool with that. I'll go do whatever I want now. And I did for a long period of time. I whored around. I did whatever I wanted for a long period of time. And that was great. And I believe what they said was true about that. And I thought, man, was I an ass back before that? Because I believed in that Christian queuing process. And then she goes, yeah, I lied to you. That was not true. And I said, God wasn't watching me when I was hammering you out and wearing you in for the next guy. And she was like, yeah, you were just wearing me in. You were just teaching me. And thanks for teaching me. And okay, yeah, I was a good teacher and all that. But that process is true. It's like, okay, that process of queuing process doesn't necessarily make it a true process. There's no true process in there. It's just you do this to the next thing. And I don't know what you would call a queuing process in logic. I have to look it up and find out what exactly is a queuing process in the process of logic, and where does that actually fall in the process of logic? Because I don't think it doesn't. It's one of those things. I think you would call it an infinite. There's this infinite, and you're working towards a truth with an infinite end. That doesn't have a definite end. It has an infinite. It's an open-ended question that you just keep working for and hoping that somewhere along this line, the queuing process, and a lot of scientific comes to that. You just keep asking, you keep plugging away on a certain thing. And it was not Einstein, Edison that made the light bulb. He says, I got to the light bulb by making a whole lot of mistakes, and that was a long line, like a long queuing process that led me up. It was an infinite process because he never knew scientifically whether this thing was going to work. He just had an idea, a theory, that this theory was going to work out, but it had an infinite end. It didn't have an open. Most science doesn't have an ending point, or I'm going to get to this process where there's going to end. It has an infinite open end, and that queuing process of life and religion has that same open-ended process. You're never going to get to the end of that process, or most of the time you're going to come to a failure. And that's what I found out. You're going to, that's why, any amount of success that happens in that queuing process of marriage is not a measurement of the success of the program. It's a smaller measurement, and what it measures is the failure of the program. And that's why I giggle a little bit when they go, well, I know this Nawalt, or I know this lady, this one lady that was married 50 years. I know this one lady, and you're going, and I'm giggling because that's a negation of, that shows actually how the program is a failure, not how the program is a success. There was one success. That's the exception to the rule. And I just kind of giggle when these people say that. Nawalt is the same way. If you do find a Nawalt does not prove that there is a Nawalt. That proves the exact opposite. That proves that all the rest of them are not Nawalts. Use logic. But that's so funny. We have a program coming in now. The Nawaltosphere. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the Nawaltosphere open up? They're going to prove, but there's only 3 of them out of 4.2 billion women. There's only 3 Nawalts so far, which is funny. Out of yeah, it's out of 4.2 billion females around the globe. We got this Nawaltosphere, and there's 3 of them, 4 of them maybe, and woo. It's like doing well there. That's a proof. That's a fact that proves that all women are that way, and we know that all women are that way because it's a provable statement. What is provable about that? The Pudicus is all women are like that. What are they like? They're like women. All women are like that is all women are like women. So it's a true statement. That's what Marcus says. All women are like that is a true statement because it meant all women are what like what? Well, they're women. They're like women. And so when a woman says, "No, all women aren't like that," no, you go, no. All women are like that. That is a true statement. Like what? They're like women. Can you show me one that's not like a woman? Would she be like a cat? That's the white shoe, like I was trying to explain yesterday. All ravens are black. Can you show me a white one? All women are like that because you can't show me one that's not like a woman. And they're trying to do that with the form of Nawalt, but the mathematics is not really working out for them because there's 4.2 billion other ones that aren't in the Nawalt club. It's bad math, and in that situation, it just proves that we are right in our theory of Mgtow, and I think they know that too. If there's only 3 of them in the group of 4.2 billion, man, that's not good odds, dude, and that's a lot more less odds. That's like 99.9.999999999 or something like that. With 9 to the 8th power. Yeah. To prove that, it's like, that's a lot of 9s in there. And I'm still not believing it. And go on with that. And hopefully that'll collect more Nawalt. So these guys over here, the religious guys that we're talking about this morning, those God life coaches, will come and they'll find these Nawalts. I think we should add the Christian girls to the Nawalt club too, and then there'll be a larger portion, and then we can direct the God life coaches from over here and go, hey, you guys are looking for those. They're over there. They're the Nawalt club. Go find them and let us know how that works. and and uh, and we could still continue doing our Mgtow thing, because I think our Mgtow thing, I think that somewhere during this thing, I still have to go through the question of there's the other side of the question too. I'll be punished. So will if God is watching, and I still can't prove that he is watching, if I can get a test that if he is watching, that I will be punished, and punishment would be like if I do something, I'd have to do the negation, I'd have to flip that. And then like if I do something good, I will be rewarded, would be the negation to that. So I could believe that if I do something bad, I'll be punished. If I do something good, I'll be rewarded. And lately that's not the really, it's not really working out. I can go work at I can do some, but I'm going to find one little test and prove it. I have to do it because that's the way I am, and then we can move on with this, because it is a two-sided question. And no, it's not two-sided. It's there's a P and there's a Q, and there's the there's the preposition, and there's the quotient, and I can. I need to figure that one out. So that was the question this morning that I had with the God life coaches. God life coaches are interesting people because they believe that that's going to solve their problem. What they're really saying is traditionalism will solve your questions in life, and I don't believe that that's true. Traditionalism in this point, and this from this guy's point of view, and I can only go on what I learned in life. From my point of view, it didn't work out. There was that unoriginality and that not thinking about things left me in a whole lot of pain. And I know it left a lot of you guys in a whole lot of pain. And you are evidence. You are the evidence of the test. Uh, but they go, no, that's not evidence of the test. I was looking at a statement today that one of them was making, and because it is Sunday and we get a lot of Sunday garbage, going on in the news and stuff. And they were saying that something wasn't lining up with the test, and or Darwin wasn't real. And we got these. I did notice something that happens with the deniers. There's Holocaust deniers, and there's Darwinism is not real because we have flat Earth, and that's a denier. There's a modem of thinking with these people, because when I looked into Ebola is over in the Congo right now, and guess what popped up? Uh, the warlords that are in charge right now are Ebola denialists. They're denying that there's Ebola, and it's really weird that that's happening, because that's what they always do. There was no Holocaust, because the Nazis don't want, they will deny that. So there is no Ebola because the warlords don't want you to believe that way, and there is no, the Christian deniers that hey, God doesn't do that. There's a lot of denial in that, and he doesn't kill little kids. Like there's little kid killer denial in that, the denialist, and but that seems to be a linguistical answer that a lot of these people come up with after they work through their logic, and they come up with the denier thing, the warlord Ebola deniers. Isn't that weird? And the flat Earth people too. The flat Earth people are just denying that they're just deniers of round Earth, which is pretty much a truth. Or we had some deniers like I often see the deniers when I go into my argument about layers of dirt that I can visually see against the side of the wall up here on the other side of the river. The river has cut down layers of dirt. How much time? I sat there one day and I tried to figure out the layers of dirt and which time they represent, that it would take for the river to cut the layers of dirt out in the sedimentary rock that's there in the different colors, and how much. And it was a long process. And I went into this process with this in mind, because I was having an argument with one of the deniers of time. The Christian deniers that the earth is older than 6,000 years old or something, and they'll hang on that. I mean, that's pretty weird to say that the earth is not that old. It's like, what about bones we find? What about carbon dating? What about the obvious of those stripes in the side of the dirt down there that I can get a picture of you and prove it? And they'll deny that. So the denial thing is really interesting, and that's always there's Mgtow deniers too. We'll get, oh no, there's none of these. And the Christians work out there. They actually got, if you become a Christian, they say that it's going to be a 2% chance you get a divorce. And I was like, well, I used to be a church, and a lot of you guys used to be a Christians, and I know that's bullshit. But somehow they're doing backwards logic in that. And I got to really, really look into the backwards logic and how that works. But it hurts my brain when I start looking at these people and doing backwards logic, how they come to these conclusions, the deniers. And it's really funny. Ebola deniers. There's no such thing as Ebola. It's something else, or it's some kind of thing that the white guys are bringing over and doing that to us or something. There's some reason behind that. And I do think there's probably a portion of xenophobia in there. The white people are doing that to them. So it's not an Ebola, it's some other thing so they can get a hold of the resources and steal from us. That would be a conspiracy theory, which we all know there's conspiracy theories in this world, and every group hinges on a lot of conspiracy theories. The alt-right hinges on conspiracy theories. The lefties hinge on conspiracy theories, and you got to stick somewhere. That's always why I say, please stick in the middle on these things and try to look at logical points and stuff like that they're making, and try not to indicate that you're flowing too far left or too far right, because you won't be their friend then. And I found this out with a video the other day. I was asking Whiskey, I said, Whiskey, what was it with this video, this specific video that I had made? It was the one about the immigrants, and I did the example of logic with the males and the females, and how the females are being treated and how the males, it kind of lines up with Mgtow theories. But I lost 10 subs right after that. And I was like, what did I say that triggered these people? And now you notice, look at my I triggered those people that day. Now look at my likes and dislikes. Since that, I haven't got no dislikes. I triggered those people that were disliking my videos so much that they stayed around and disliked me. But after that video, and I was thinking, I asked Whiskey, I said, Whiskey, what was it about that video? He says, I went through the video twice, and I really didn't see what had triggered them. Maybe it was logic that had triggered them. But they haven't been coming around lately, and I was grateful for that. But I want to reproduce. Ooh, trippy. Come back. I wanted to reproduce what I had did in that video, so they'll stay away forever. And then we can just have our little things around here. Hello, Bob the Monk. So we could just do our thing and talk about Mgtow shit without all the other, people hating on us and stuff, because there's no reason to hate on Mgtows. We just want to do our Mgtow stuff and work through our theories of logic and our rationalism to come to some points about the way this world really works. And that's it. That's all I want to do. And in the life God coaches, I think I came to a sort of agreement today that God isn't going to immediately punish me if I don't take up with a woman and do the queuing line. And that's what they're asking you. They're asking you to get in the queue. And their queue is, leads up to marriage. And then, like I say, marriage and divorce are the same thing. So it eventually leads to divorce. And then they go, ha, I got you. What did you learn? That's what my wife did. She went, ha, I lied to you. What did you learn? And I was like, you gave me a good lesson there, bitch. Wow, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was real. And you just, yeah, you thought it was real. And I was like, you do what you want to do, and I'll do what I want to do. And that's the way it always should have been. We shouldn't have asked those things out of each other. And we shouldn't have bought into our parents' old traditionalism and everything we had. She just realized it before I did. I was going to go with that to the rest of I thought I was going to go with that for the rest of my life. And then we'd be like, whoo, we proved the point there. What point did we prove? That we could be asses for a long period of time. That's what you prove when you when you stay in your marriage and you're unhappy. What the point that you prove is you can be an ass for a long period of time. And that's a great point in life. I like those guys that stay in, because the first thing I hear this all the time with the old guys that have been married for 50 years, and there's only like one of them in my life, and he used to tell me, "Oh, you stick with that," and I'll say, "We'll sit down, we'll start drinking a beer or having a Pepsi or something," and I'll start asking him questions, and it'll always come out. He goes, "Man, I go bowling like every week because I can't stand another moment with her." And I was like, well, isn't that contrary to what you're telling me about this how long you can suffer thing? And he's like, yeah, I could leave, but then I'll have to pay her. And I was like, but it's really about that. You just got stuck in a bad contract, and you don't want to have to, at this point in your life, when you're old, that's the worst time to have to get out of that contract. You don't want to be in that contract. If you are in a marriage, do it like I did. We get like 38 years old or something. We came to this agreement that we hated each other and that this thing was just a big fucking lie. And she had to explain this to me, that she could do whatever she wants with her body. And that it wasn't my concern, because that gives me the permission to do. And I'll tell you what, if you are doing it before you're 40s as a male, as a single male in your 40s, well, is the best time of your life. I mean, at least get to the best time of your life. I mean, especially with girls. And if you're thinking about that thing like that, get there before you're 40. You don't want to get there when you're 50, because this happens. Get there when you're 40, because, man, you will be, some of the things you can get into, we'll agree with that. God, I was getting deep into that. During my 40s, and a lot of them, I was going deep. I was going for the ball on that one. Just like, I still believed in God in a little sense, and I was still going. God was yelling, go deep, Joe, go deep. And I was like, I'm trying. I've done a lot of them. And I know I'm being sarcastic about that. Go deep, Joe. Yeah, so I've learned my lesson in this thing, but I still have yet to test. One of the tests that I really was thinking of, is it my responsibility to test scientifically that God was going to punish me? Is it my responsibility to test that, or is it the Christian's responsibility to test that? And that was my question for the day. After I got done with this, I did the work in my head, and I came up with a coach analogy. God is like a life coach, that he's going to rebuke you for doing things wrong, but he's going to do it in a compassionate way. He's going to be like, Joe, get back in there, and get back in there. We need you in there, Joe. We need you as the linebacker, and this is for the team. And then he's like, slaps me on my ass. God gives me a big slap on my ass, and it's like, get back in there, Joe, and take that angle. And everything works out great, and we win the game. So that's my thoughts today on a Sunday morning, because it is a Sunday morning, and I really didn't have too much to think about. Dougie's he's sleeping most of the time now, and I think he's slowly getting ready to pass, so I have to go check him after this. I can give him a little bit of time. He sleeps most of the time. He eats like once. I have to hold him when I take him out until he gets his balance, and then he can do his thing and then kind of walk a little bit. But he's having real troubles now, and I have to balance him and do all those things, and then clean up after all his messes and stuff. So that's my good thing that I'm doing. I'm putting the test in motion. What good can I do for this world, and will I be rewarded, or will I be punished? That will tell me if there's a God or not. And that's the only test I can put in this thing. Yeah, sooner or later she's gonna do that. Bump that shit. Yeah. The God cheerleader thing is kind of disturbing when I do that in my head. The analogy of the God cheerleader, he has this like blonde wig on. He's like an old man like me. He's got this blonde wig on. He's got this shortcut cheerleader outfit, and his nuts are hanging out of the bottom of it. And he's like, woo, Joe. And he's like, Joe, 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 woo, go deep. And I was like, and that's a disturbing thought, but maybe for the Christians, that's a good thought. And that, but I wonder why you got the cheerleading outfit on, dude. That's a little weird. We'll talk about that at the end in the afterlife, but for now, I'm just trying to spit my drink. got in a cheerleading outfit. Ooh. See, this is one of those little tests. I'm provoking his wrath right now because he's like, Joe, stop! I'm gonna so beat your ass, and and I'm like, I know you're gonna, so beat my ass, big guy. And that's what I say to a lot of people. You know, you're gonna beat my ass, huh? Yeah, so go now, do it. And and I provoke it. And then after I get my big black eye or something, I'm like, hey, that's test. That's positive test. I'll believe in you then. Instead of having to fill this chair of being God myself. And because being God sucks. Really, it does. I don't want to be God. And but I have to be my own God because the chair's empty. That's why I'm a Sedavenkatist. That's why I wear this. I'm a Sedavenkatist because I'm a Mgtow monk because there's an empty chair. And I'm like, no one else is going to sit in that? Fuck it, I'll take it. And until they can prove that from me, or I get my black eye, which generally hasn't happened yet, until they can prove that, or I get my back eye, which would be proof of, or I do something good and God rewards me, which I haven't had no proof of because man, life ain't been easy for me, and I've done a lot of good things in this life. So if he can do that, they can pretty much talk to me about that, the God life coaches. But right about now, I think I'm coming to the analysis that the God life coaches in Mgtow need to be slapped down. And from a real human standpoint, because they're still trying to tell us those traditional lies, those traditional cueing lies, like you go ahead. But at the end of this thing, which they tell you to do, they are unwilling to take responsibility for the damage that it was done. And that's my big problem with this thing. Christianity, you told me this was going to work out, and there was a certain portion of damage that was done to my life after the done. This would just be a legal argument to me. You lied to me, and there was a certain portion of damage that was done to my life. Now you owe me money, and you know how I am, guys, about money. You owe me money, and I'm going to get my money back. How do I go about getting my money back from God? Because you obviously these people represent you. You sent them. I have to fill this chair. Freaky, come back. I have to fill this chair. I'm doing some work that I'm being paid for. You fucked up my life at the end of this queuing process, and nobody wants to pay me for that. Oh, son of a bitch! I'm gonna become a Mgtow and beat your asses. That's what I'm saying, and that's why we have Mgtow. And I don't care if they like that because they owe me. And you know how I am about being owed. I will get my money back. I will get whatever it is I get back because that's the way I am. I have to keep even with things in life, and even goes both ways. Just for my just for my consciousness, just for my whatever it is that I do in life, I have to keep even. My ledger doesn't go into the red. My ledger doesn't go too far into the black. It hasn't been permitted to go too far into the black. My ledger doesn't go. If my ledger doesn't been permitted to go too far into the black, I will only permit it to go so far into the red before I have to correct that. So they owe me a lot of. I haven't figured out. I thought that we had figured it out once in the beginning, about 5-6 years ago. Me and somebody had went down and how much money they owe me, and I think it was 120 at that point, like almost 19 years ago or something. It was $126,000, which probably represents more like, if I would have got interest on that and all that. and it would continue growing like I hoped it was going to grow. Freaky, come back, come back, come back, come back. There we go. I have to pull myself back into existence every time because I'm fading in and out as God. Sorry about that. Uh, uh, I know you. Yeah, so there's an amount of money that every Mgtow's owed and every man is owed after he gets lied to that about that. And I figured it out for myself. And that would probably equally match what they said I could retire on, the 2.5 million. And I would accept that as payment and quit doing what I'm doing, because with Mgtow, it's all about money. It's all about you saying you're right by giving me the money back that you stole from me. And if they did that, I would say, but they're unwilling to do that. They're unwilling to take responsibility. That's why Christianity and any religion are just like bitches, because at the end, they're unwilling to take responsibility for the damage they do. And I think I should leave it at that. I think that should be the end of this video here on Sunday morning. These God life coaches are unwilling to do what they say they're willing to do. These God life coaches are unwilling to take responsibility for the damages that they create in people's lives. And I think they deserve a punch in the face for that. And I think they owe me some money. And if they want to come around Mgtow but they don't want to get the resistance, that's silly. I'm a monk slap them every single time. I'm gonna do some monk slapping here, all up in here, all up in here, whoop whoop, because I have to, because I've experienced this lie, and they're unwilling to pay the dividends at the end that they said they were going to pay. And no, the Christian church still owes me $2.5 million for that lie. I mean, the Jews can settle up on that too, or the Muslims, or the Buddhists. I don't care which one of them settle up on that. But they all owe me, and that's a truth. So with that, I think I'm going to go away. I'm going to fade away and go do some God work. Dougie needs some things done, and I'm going to go be God for the rest of the day because I have to, because he forgot to fill the seat. And with that, go your own way, Mgtow. And I hope your life is going good and everything's fine. Go your own way. You're all forgiven for all those Simpsons that you had in your past. And I'm a better God in that. I will actually forgive you for that. Go your own way and have a great day today. Get out there, enjoy that sunlight I put out there for you. And most of all, Mgtows, most of all, just keep coming around, keep doing your thing, because there is a certain amount of logic in this. And most of all, thanks for being Mgtow. Mgtow.